What kind of advice would you give somebody that's trying to figure out what the heck they want to do with their life?
In a perfect world, if you won the lottery, tons of money, but in order to collect it, you had to agree to work 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. What would you do with your life? Well, when you love and enjoy and you're passionate about what you do, that's not work.
Let's embark on this journey together because no matter the challenge, there's always a way through.
Hey, it's Keith Macpherson here, and I'm so excited for today's podcast. Today I'm going to be speaking with Ned Grossman, author of 2 incredible books that have totally inspired my life. So let's get into it. Hey, Ned, welcome.
Thank you. Welcome to you. You're the outside visitor here.
Absolutely. It's great to be here at your beautiful farm in Ohio. I'm so excited you're here. You've written a couple books, How to Succeed in Life, Ideas and Principles That They Don't Teach in School.
That's it.
How did this book come about?
Oh, that's a long story, but when I got out of college, I didn't know what I wanted to do, so I listened to a set of audio cassette tapes by Earl Nightingale called Lead the Field. That was recommended to me by my high school baseball coach. And I listened, not because I thought I'd learn anything, but if he says all the secrets of success in life you need were in a set of tapes, what's the downside? So I listened, I learned, and over a period of 25 years after, I listened to a lot of other tapes by a lot of other people, our mutual friend Wayne Dyer on top of the list, and took copious notes on what was said. And then, 30 years ago, I was preparing for a conference in Columbus, Horatio Alger's talk that the superintendent of the Columbus Public Schools was going to put on. And I said, can I come to hear what these people say? He said, I'm going to make you come and talk at the same time. I said, okay. So during that, his secretary said, why don't you write a book? You have all this information. And I thought, well, okay. So there was no pressure, no editor, no publisher. Nobody even knew I was doing it. It took 10 years to compile all this information that I'd gathered from other smarter, older, wiser people than myself. And if you open to any page and just read something, everybody looks, that makes sense. So the book applies common sense and logic to things that to many people are mysteries.
That's one of the things I've loved about reading this book is that it's one of those books where I open it up and there's the right quote or the right saying, exactly what I need to hear based on what's going on in my life. And there's a couple that I wanted you to speak about. One in particular, based on the world these days. I feel like a lot of the clients that I'm working with as a coach come to me and they're stressed out, they're in their head, they're overthinking everything. And I'm just wondering, from putting this book together, what advice you might give them.
Oh my God. Be yourself. We kid back and forth. Everyone else is always taken. So be yourself. Be happy with who you are, what you do, how you do it. And no matter what that is, you're not going to please all the people all the time. So if you do the best you can under the circumstances that exist, that's all you can do. Are you going to be perfect? No. Will you make mistakes? Of course. But at the end of the period, if you look in the mirror and say, I worked hard, I did the best I can, and I'm happy with who I am and what I am. And you're not living your life to please others. You have to be true to yourself and satisfied with who you are. And if that happens and it will, attract other people to you who are happy to be with you, like talking with you, enjoying your company, that's the result.
I love that. Well, myself as a recovering people pleaser, learning how to say no.
Have you learned that yet?
Well, you've been definitely a mentor in this area. But learning how to say no when it's a no and learning how to say yes when it's a yes. I wonder how you navigate boundaries and how you've come to learn how to navigate boundaries in your life. But what you're going to say yes and no to.
I wouldn't just put it in a structure of boundaries. It's just, do you want to go for Chinese food? Yes or no. You want to go for a hamburger? Yes or no. The decisions are simple, yes or no. And if you take one at a time, at the end of the day, at the end of the week, at the end of the month, you've made those decisions. You mentioned about being no. It's hard to say no. We were talking about it coming down that a no answer is better than no answer. So if I was working when I had my small business, if you talk to a prospect and they said, you know what, we really can't do business with you because my brother's in the business. great. No answer is better than no answer. If you get strung along, well, we'll think about it and we'll call you next week, and next week goes by and then it's next month. The longer it takes for something to happen, the less likely it is.
So true.
So there's nothing wrong with saying no if that's what's in here and that's the right answer for you at this point in time.
I feel
The person you're saying no to may not like it, but that's the reality.
I feel like what you're saying, like that, just to go back and rewind, because I want you to say it again. It's a powerful phrase.
Yeah.
But this whole idea of the longer it takes
For something to happen, the less likely it will. So again, taking the business analogy, you meet a prospect, and my mother had a lot of great lines, and one of them was, you only get one chance to make a first impression. So the people that are watching this, they look at you primarily and say, I like the way he looks, the way he talks, his body language, that's good. And with the prospect, or anybody who walks in the door, you form an opinion. May not be right in terms of right or wrong, and it may not be politically correct, but I think we do. You like somebody, you don't. You have this first interview, they kind of like you or they don't, and they need to come to a conclusion. And it takes time, I realize that, in the corporate arena to make decisions, but it just takes too long, then forget about it and move on to the next prospect.
Absolutely. As you're speaking about making decisions, just back to that again, I'm just curious, why do people have such a hard time deciding on something so simple, whether it's going to be what kind of food they're eating or, making those direct calls? Why do people struggle so hard with the making of decisions, do you think?
Well, two things come to mind. Number one, when you make a decision, it may not please you, and we all want to be pleasing. And if I say Chinese food and you wanted Italian food, then inherently you're a bit disappointed. So I don't want to disappoint you. So that's part of it. What was the second part of the question?
Well, just this idea of making decisions, how you know what you're going to say yes to and no to. How do you definitely know if I'm going to say yes to this, this is the right decision versus the wrong decision?
It's what you thought was right at that point in time. And you may look back a month from now, a year from now, and say, why did I make that decision? But then we become judgmental, we question ourselves, and it's sort of a losing game. All you can do is at this moment make the decision that you feel is right for you, is comfortable, is open, and is honest, and is decent. And then how anybody chooses to react to it, that's up to them. And there's also this, you can't look back on things and say, well, if I'd have done something different here, my whole life will have changed. Well, it would have, but it might not have been any better than it is now. We tend to take one situation and focus on that as a bad choice. And we've all made bad choices, but it's part of what you had to do way back then to get to where you are now. And whatever choices you made in the past, whether you deem them good choices or bad choices, they're made. You can't change that. So here we are at this particular moment. What am I going to do going forward that's going to make me comfortable, that's the right thing to do, and live with those decisions?
How much of that is gut feeling versus logic for you?
It's all gut feeling. You don't normally sit back and decide, well, am I going to do this or that? It comes up, you make a decision. It's like in tennis. If balls hit to you at the net, you don't have time to think about it. You react. Normally, you probably hit a good shot. If you hit a high lob, you got all this time, oh my God, it's coming here, the wind's blowing there, should I hit it on this side? And the more you think about it, so reaction is good. Tell us about your phrase, ikapona mea.
Oh, ikapona mea, right. Well, this is a Hawaiian phrase, and it's how people used to greet each other in ancient Hawaii. People think it's aloha, but it's actually ikapona mea. And loosely translated into English, ikapona mea means everything is happening perfectly on time. And so I often, when I'm doing my talks and stuff, will have people practice this phrase to each other saying, ikapono mea, meaning even just our meeting here at this time in this place, in this particular moment in the universe is perfectly on time. Some people might be rolling their eyes right now going, well, it's not all perfectly on time. Let me tell you about the week I just had. But when you actually look back at it, even some of the most challenging moments in our life that, didn't feel like ikapono mea at the time, had the most to teach us, I think about some of the most annoying people in my life that have driven me the craziest. And they've taught me lessons like patience, or, how to set a boundary, how to stand up for myself, how to speak my truth. So I feel like everything is kind of happening that way in Ikaponomea all the time.
And you had to go through the unfortunate circumstances, the bad decisions to get to where you are right now. And it's taking all that history, all those decisions, all that information, all those relationships, and deciding, well, this is what I'm going to do and how I'm going to act going forward.
Absolutely. One of the things I love about your book and just your mindset is you speak a lot about the power of simplicity.
Oh my God.
It's so interesting because the world seems like it's so complex. Like everybody makes everything such a big deal and all the details. Tell me a little bit about your perspective on simplicity.
Well, simplicity, the acronym for that started out was the KISS principle, K-I-S-S. Originally, it stood for Keep It Simple, Stupid. But we don't use that word anymore, so now it's short and sweet, short and simple, short and sugary, whatever you want. And it works. The simpler we can make it. My dad gave me notepads way, way long ago. And my name is on the top, and on the bottom, it says, keeping it simple is a complicated accomplishment. And as the world has evolved and grown, it's more complex, it's more fast-moving. So if you can boil decisions down to the bare basics, keep it simple. Do you want to go out for dinner tonight or stay home? Well, there's only two choices. So pick one of the two. And then you start, well, where should we go? You can name 20 different kinds of foods, 35 different kinds of restaurants, and 45 minutes from now, we'll still be deciding what we're going to do. So if you can ask yes or no works.
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting. So many people will come to me as coaching clients and they have like a plethora of options in front of them. But a lot of times people come to me and they say, I don't really know what I want to do with my life.
Oh my God.
What kind of advice would you give somebody that's trying to figure out what the heck they want to do with their life?
Well, you have a lot of options. You have to have some kind of a goal. In a perfect world, if you won the lottery, tons of money, but in order to collect it, you had to agree to work 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, what would you do with your life? Landscaping, photography, writing books, doctor, lawyer, nurse, teacher, whatever it is. Well, when you love and enjoy and you're passionate about what you do, that's not work. That's enjoyment. So when money's not the object or a factor, you're going to do what you like to do. And so if you're doing what you like to do, you also do it very well. And as more and more you do it, the better you get. So that's a term I use. In a perfect world, what would you do? We realize the world's not perfect. Well, you pick whatever it is and start, and it doesn't happen overnight. You have to work hard. You don't start out as the president of the company. You start at the bottom, get your foot in the door, work hard, and after 10 or 20 years, maybe you get lucky.
Absolutely. A lot of this stuff too, I think is, at least in my experience, is taking risk and going outside of my comfort zone and stretching my limits, because it's too easy to stay in that sort of safe or false sense of safety place where it's like the familiar. And so to me, there's something to be said about, you get the intuition, or you get that sense of, I want to play music for a living, or I want to be a life coach, or whatever it is, or
both of them.
Or both of them. In my case, as many things as you can put on the list. But this idea of stepping outside the norm has always been something for me as well. And like really trusting my intuition as I'm going through the motions of life.
Well, as you've spoken here and over at the times we've been together, one of your favorite phrases is trust your instinct. What's your gut telling you?
Yeah.
And you have these daily intentions that people can subscribe to. 8 o'clock in the morning, I look forward to Keith's daily intention for the day, which helps set the table and gives you a great thought for equanimity and peace and thoughtfulness of going forward. So do your own thing, be your own boss, and have no regrets. Make errors of commission rather than omission.
Can you say a bit more about that? That's because that phrase goes through my mind a lot. That you say it a lot.
Well, I'd rather make a mistake of doing something, going to a concert, it was lousy, than not going to the concert and saying, maybe we've heard so many good things about it, and maybe we should have gone. We don't have instant replay on this planet, so you can't go back and do it again. You can say, well, they were here Saturday night. Where are they going to be next Saturday night? And we'll have to go somewhere and try and see that.
Yeah.
So when you look back on your life, or when I look back on mine anyway, I'd like to say, some of the things I didn't do. You want one particular story? I'm a huge sports fan, so over the years, I've been to amazing number of classic sporting events, historical ones. And when I was a sophomore in college, 1962, I believe, the Philadelphia Warriors at that time were playing the New York Knicks in Hershey, Pennsylvania, which was about an hour from where I went to school. And a bunch of us decided, we'll go to that game, watch the game tonight. Well, for whatever reason, we didn't go. And that's the night Wilt Chamberlain scored 100 points. I wake up the next morning, get the paper, Wilt scores 100. So error of commission, or omission rather than commission, it's not going to happen again. But that's the way it is. Do I berate myself? You say, well, that's the way it was, and I missed it. And you learn from the things you do right. You learn from the things that you think you didn't not have done right, and not make the same mistakes over and over.
This reminds me that one last piece I want to chat about from your book is this idea of focusing on, it's your big phrase, focusing, how does it go? Focusing on?
Focus on the things over which you have input, impact, and control.
Yeah.
So who wins the basketball game tonight? It's hot here today. Forget about that. The stock market, the political situation, all those things, let's talk about it for the next 5 minutes, 5 hours, 5 days. Nothing's changed. So the things, what you eat, how you exercise, how you treat people, those things have immediate impact on you and those around you.
I love that. I'm thinking about it in the context of the game that you missed out on. And so often, we make these choices in life and we miss out, or we think we miss out. But at the end of the day, it's like you don't have any more input, impact, and control once it's happened.
No rewind. Can't go back and do it again.
Right.
You can watch it on YouTube, but you weren't there. You didn't sense it. And by the way, that was 60 years ago. It was a totally different experience at a game. Anyway.
Wow. Ned, thank you so much for being here. The book is How to Succeed in Life, Ideas and Principles They Don't Teach in School. And you have another book too, How to Succeed in the 21st Century. Focus on the things over which you have input,
impact, and control. Of all the things we talked about, anybody listening, just think about that phrase and implement that, and your life, I'm projecting, will be simpler, easier, more productive, and more successful than anything else you can do.
Thank you, Ned.
My pleasure.